Grenfell is a town in southern Saskatchewan, Canada. It is situated at the junction of Highway 47 and the Trans-Canada Highway 80 miles east of Regina, the provincial capital. It is 15 miles south of the Qu'Appelle Valley, where Crooked Lake Provincial Park and Birds Point Resort are popular beach destinations in summer, and are accessed by Highway 47. European settlement from Ontario and the British Isles began in 1882 before the Canadian Pacific Railway reached the site of the town. The post office was established in 1883. The town's name honors Pascal du Grenfell, a railway company official. History. The settlement was the result of the westward expansion of the Canadian Pacific Railway, and the town is named after Pascal du Grenfell, an early shareholder of the railway company and a prominent railwayman. Initial settlement was from eastern Canada and the British Isles, followed shortly thereafter by Germans. Grenfell was incorporated as a town in 1911. It has a stable economic base and reasonable land prices. The community sent men to war in both the First and Second World Wars. They are remembered at the local cenotaph. As in many other prairie towns, Chinese rail workers from the building of the CPR in the 1880s settled down and established local businesses. As late as the 1960s, there were two Chinese cafes on Main Street. Grenfell is close enough to the provincial, commercial and political metropole of Regina that its residents do not feel impossibly remote and can repair the when occasion demands. It is far enough away that a lively local community persists. The town has long been known for cultural vitality. In 1974, the University of Saskatchewan, Regina campus choir gave a concert in the community hall, with the audience filling the hall. Students accommodated by town and farm families. Eminent provincial academics, lawyers, medical doctors, lieutenant governors, musicians and artists either came from or spent time working in Grenfell. Geography. Grenfell is located in the Indian Head Plain of the Aspen Parkland ecoregion on the parkland of the Qu'Appelle floodplain. Grenfell is within the topographical area of Wheat Hills. The bedrock geology belongs to that of the Manville Group, a stratigraphical unit of Cretaceous age in the western Canadian sedimentary basin formed during the Lower Cretaceous period. The area is characterized by lush rolling grasslands, interspersed with poplar bluffs and open sloughs. Sakamay First Nation consists of 11,295.2 hectares located 12 kilometers northeast of Grenfell and includes 1,340 people on the Sakamay, Sheship, Little Burn and Monochak reserves. Grenfell Beach is located within the Sakamay Reserve area on Crooked Lake. Climate. Grenfell has a humid continental climate, with extreme seasonal temperatures. It has warm summers and cold winters, with the average daily temperatures ranging from -16 degrees Celsius in January to 18 degrees Celsius in July. Annually, temperatures exceed 30 degrees Celsius on an average in late July. Typically, summer lasts from late June until late August, and the humidity is seldom uncomfortably high. Winter lasts from November to March, and varies greatly in length and severity. Spring and autumn are both short and highly variable. Demographics. The 2006 Statistics Canada data estimates the town's population at 947 residents, continuing a slight trend of population decline in the town since the 2001 census, although unusual for prairie towns. Grenfell's population today is larger than in 1916. Of the current adult population, 43.7% were male and 55.8% were female. Children under 5 accounted for approximately 1.6% of the resident population of Grenfell. Between 2001 and 2006, Grenfell's population decreased by 11.2%. During the same time period, the population of Saskatchewan decreased by 1.1%, while that of Canada grew by 5.4%. A recent economic boom in Saskatchewan and an atypical persistence of prosperity during the 2008 worldwide slump will have altered this trend. The population density of Grenfell averaged 3.5 per square kilometers, compared with an average of 1.6 per square kilometers for the province. According to data from 2001, more than 12.1% of the town's residents identify themselves as Catholic, 37.5% of residents are Protestant, 4.2% are Christian, and 3.2% of residents do not practice a religion. Whereas the first settlers were from the British Isles and eastern Canada, later immigrants from Germany would also settle here. Government. The town of Grenfell has a mayor as the highest-ranking government official. The town also elects aldermen and councillors to form the municipal council. Currently the mayor is Lloyd William, and is serving with councillors Rodney Wolf, Gary Cole, Philip Peter, Jeremy Taylor, Gilbert Heineman, and Kevin Spadelsback. The Chief Administrative Officer is currently a vacant position. Provincially, Grenfell is within the constituency of Moosomin and served by the Member of Legislative Assembly, the Honourable Don Toth. Federally, the Souris Moose Mountain riding is represented by the Member of Parliament, Ed Kamanaki. Commerce. By 1915, Grenfell hosted a flour mill company, one of 37 across the province. The CPR employed hundreds of Chinese laborers on its incremental westward growth from Ontario to British Columbia throughout the 1880s. Once the railroad was complete, many Chinese returned to railroad towns like Grenfell to establish café and groceries, which persisted until the latter part of the 20th century. Well into that time, Grenfell was served by two such Chinese café and groceries, which considerably contributed to the amenity of its business district. Grenfell also had a women's clothing store on Main Street and the provisions of a bake shop and movie theatre on Front Street well into the 1960s. A cinema on Front Avenue opposite the railway line continued in business until the 1960s, much beyond the time when such facilities had lapsed in other, larger prairie towns which were closer to urban metropoles. No doubt this was in part because television transmission remained poor, Grenfell being a good 75 miles east of the broadcast locus in Regina. However, they might have regretted the lack of choice. Community life was assuredly enhanced by first-release films being available only in the town cinema. Access to both Regina and somewhat less quickly Winnipeg became vastly more convenient and fast, with the great improvement in quality of the Trans-Canada Highway, even substantially eliminating the demand for train passenger transport. This constituted both an improvement in town and farm dwellers' overall quality of life, but decline in its nature within the town without a lengthy drive. As in virtually all prairie Canadian towns, the centre of commerce was from the beginning until very recently the grain elevators. Assorted grain buying companies maintained large depots to which farmers regularly brought wheat and other crops for sale whenever the centralized grain buying board announced a quota. Infrastructure. Grenfell's hospital was first established in 1915, followed by a maternity home in 1933. The hospital in Grenfell was one of 52 hospital closures announced April 15, 1993, by Health Minister Louise Simard. Grenfell belongs to the Regina Qu'Appelle Health Region, and a hospital is within a 10-minute drive. The Grenfell Medical Center is staffed with a doctor, emergency room, lab and X-ray department. As well, Grenfell is home to the Grenfell and District Pioneer Home, providing health care for senior citizens of the area. transportation. Grenfell is situated at the junction of Highway No. 47 on Trans-Canada Highway No. 180 miles east of Regina, the provincial capital. By 2004, the Saskatchewan Highway 1, the Trans-Canada Highway, had been twinned from Alberta all the way eastward to Grenfell. The entire highway was divided by 2007. The Canadian Pacific Railway came through in October 1882. Shacks and tents appeared the following spring, allowing the village to incorporate on April 12, 1894, with over 100 residents. It was reorganized in 1967, becoming the Grenfell branch of the Southeast Regional Library. Grenfell was located on the CPR West Line between Regina and Winnipeg, Manitoba. The line ran through Indian Head, Saint-Luta, Wolseley, Summerberry, then Grenfell, and continues west through Oakshella, Broadview. It is here that in 1925, the time zone changed from Central Standard Time to Mountain Standard Time. Education. Grenfell is home to the Mechanics Library Institute, which was established in 1882, being one of the province's oldest libraries. Grenfell Elementary Community School offers preschool to grade 6 with an enrollment near 160 pupils. Grenfell High Community School offers grade 7 to grade 12 to an enrollment of about 134 students. Both are part of the Prairie Valley School Division No. 208. Historically, several one-room schoolhouses served Grenfell and area. Faulkner School District No. 53 was one of the first, established in 1886, followed by Rillington No. 62, and Prospect No. 65. Grenfell No. 150 was located south of the town site. Locane No. 224, Tetlock No. 289, Brown Hill No. 353, Arlington No. 429, Sims No. 432, Wolf Hills No. 823, Gettle # 1904, and Oakshella No. 2458 came next, serving the community until the 1950s. By the 1960s, only 2 of every former one-room schoolhouses were still in use. Churches. The Presbyterians, Methodists and Church of England all held services in the CPR depot beginning in 1883, and townspeople of all denominations attended regardless of affiliation. By 1884, the Presbyterians had built the town's first church, and in 1885 the Anglicans the town's second, St. Michael and All Angels. The Methodists built the first church in 1890, and, soon outgrowing it, a second in 1906, the first building being destroyed by fire concurrently with the opening of the new church. The second Methodist church building remains that of the United Church of Canada congregation, which came into existence as Grenfell United Church. Upon the unification of Canadian Presbyterians, Methodists and Congregationalists in 1925, the old Presbyterian church building being sold to the Independent Order of Odd Fellows as a lodge room. It is reported that, in publications of the day, clergy recounted their experiences. There were the monotonous, if not exhausting, trips in the heat of summer or the cold of winter made by the rector of Grenfell, Frank V. Baker, arriving disappointed to find only a handful of people gathered for a service. The Lutherans built the first Peace Lutheran Church in 1905 and a second, larger building in 1951. The old building being sold to the Ukrainian Orthodox congregation. The Roman Catholics, originally of substantially Irish stock, built St. Columcille Church in 1903 and, with an influx of Polish and Ruthenian families, found their numbers considerably increased, and by 1944 moved and extended the church building. In 1979 they opened a second, completely modern church building. Protestant Austrians organized the St. John's Evangelical and Reformed Congregation in 1888 and built two churches in succession in 1894 and 1903, before amalgamating with the United Church in 1964. The Baptists purchased the town's disused first schoolhouse in 1895 for use as the church. Their congregation dwindled over time, and in the mid-1960s the Apostolic Church purchased the building. They subsequently built a new church, and the Masons acquired the old Baptist church for use as a lodge. The Grenfell Revival Center opened in a disused Lutheran church building in 1960. The Ukrainian Catholics initially affiliated themselves with the Roman Catholics and worshipped jointly with them. In 1921 they were able to build their own church, and in 1957 acquired the Lutherans' old and now disused church building. In 1991 a reconstituted Presbyterian congregation was established in Grenfell as Trinity Presbyterian Church. Museums and other prominent points of interest. Grenfell's Adair Museum has a wide collection of artifacts and a military display, historical map of the area, and 1949 Fargo fire truck. Quote, "It was a Queen Anne Revival-style home, built in 1904 by Mr. and Mrs. Edward Fitzgerald, the editor and publisher of the first local newspaper in Grenfell in 1894, the purchaser of which house divided it into suites and bequeathed to the town for senior citizens' housing. Ultimately, the Grenfell Museum Association became curator and opened it as a museum on July 6, 1973. A reputation for unusual community interest in culture was demonstrated in 1974 when the choir of the then University of Saskatchewan, Regina campus chose to perform in Grenfell's Community Hall among its destinations on a provincial tour. Grenfell Regional Park, located on the west side of Grenfell, features picnic, playground area, showers, food services, and a 9-hole sand greens golf course. Military. Grenfell was home to one of the 7 chapters of the Imperial Order of the Daughters of the Empire, established in 1909 after the Boer War, for women's aid to the war effort. The Royal Northwest Mounted Police Force Detachment was established in Grenfell in 1915. Following World War II, the militia was reorganized in 1961. The 10th Field Regiment consisted of several batteries, including 65th Battery Grenfell Sports and Recreation. Before 1900, Grenfell, Battleford, Saltcoats and Moosomin all hosted soccer teams. In 1905, the Saskatchewan Soccer Association was first established in Grenfell. In the 19th century, Grenfell boasted one of the dozen or so town bands or citizens' bands of the Northwest Territories. The early English settlers had a flair for sporting activities, kept hounds and horses, and also established a run similar to that of fox hunting runs in Britain in the 1800s. One of Canada's first polo clubs started in Grenfell. Currently, the town features an active snowmobiling club, the Grenfell Snowdrifters, and the Grenfell Spitfire Hockey Club plays in the Qu'Appelle Valley Hockey League. The Flames of the Recreational Hockey Club, and the Titans of the Seniors Ball Club. The community center on Main Street has a substantial hall which has been used for presentation of university choir concerts with full audience, indicating enthusiastic appreciation. Prominent Grenfell natives and residents. James Dill, Member of Council of the Northwest Territories 1891 to 98. William J. Patterson, Provincial Premier from 1935 to 1944 and Lieutenant Governor from 1951 to 1958, was born in Grenfell, as was Lorne Macpherson, the Canadian entertainment lawyer, founder of the Alberta Motion Picture Development Corporation and independent film producer. Sir Richard Stewart Lake started to homestead near Grenfell in 1883 along with his family. Lake served as a Justice of the Peace and Vice President of the Territorial Grain Growers Association. He was elected to the Northwest Territories Assembly before becoming Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan in 1915. Frederick W. Johnson taught school in Grenfell before serving in the Second World War and then practicing law for many years in Regina, being appointed to the Court of Queen's Bench, serving as its Chief Justice from 1977 to 1983 and ultimately becoming the 16th Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan between 1983 and 1988. Johnson was also First Chancellor of the Saskatchewan Order of Merit. Benjamin Parkin Richardson, MLA 1888 to 1891, as also the first president of the Grenfell Agricultural Society, which was established in 1884. In the death of Benjamin Parkin Richardson, the district of Grenfell has lost one of its early pioneers and the town one of its most prominent and active citizens. Coming to what was then Grenfell in the spring of 1884, he at once identified himself with the interests of the West, at the time still uncertain, its future success doubtful. The difficulties and discouragement of those early years is still fresh and green in the memories of some who are still with us, but who, like him whose loss we now deplore, have lived to see the full dawn of a brighter day and a truer knowledge of the land we live in, was reported in the Grenfell Sunday, 1910. He was also the director of the Hospital Board, chairman of the Public School Board, and editor of the Grenfell Sun, of which he was a founder. Dennis A. Fitzgerald, born January 1, 1903, in Grenfell and graduated Grenfell High School in 1919. Fitzgerald became director of the United States Department of Agriculture's Office of Foreign Agricultural Relations. As chief of ECA's Food Division, Paul Hoffman, his superior in the division, said of him on his appointment, "He's probably the greatest authority on food procurement and distribution in the world." John Hubbard of Grenfell became the first president of the Saskatchewan Beekeepers Association in 1923. He organized the first meeting at his apiary in Grenfell in 1920. R.J. Staples, born 1904 in Grenfell, was a prominent educator in the field of music. After receiving his education at the University of Saskatchewan, he taught at several schools in Saskatchewan, followed by serving as advisor on school music courses and provincial supervisor. He introduced workshops in school music methods and was instrumental in the introduction of the recorder in Canadian schools. James Thomas Milton Anderson taught at Grenfell sometime between 1906 and 1911. He married Edith Redgwick in Grenfell before moving to Yorkton and Regina, becoming the 5th Premier of Saskatchewan. Dr. Cal Bricker, a Grenfell dentist, competed in the Olympics. In the London 1908 Summer Olympics he gained a bronze medal in the men's long jump, and during the 1912 Summer Olympics held in Stockholm he won the silver medal, again for men's long jump. Bricker was inducted into the University of Toronto, Saskatchewan and Canadian Sports Hall of Fame. Canadian athletes who excel in jumping activities are awarded the Cal D. Bricker Memorial Trophy. Location: